Okay, let me show you a cool little prediction trick with the deck of cards. I have a deck here that is in no particular order, pretty well shuffled, but it doesn't really matter because you're going to choose, instead of a card, you're going to choose a number to do this. We want to ultimately have you select a card, and I have made a prediction well in advance. Right here, I've taken a card from a completely different deck that hopefully will match the card you end up with. So I'm going to ask you to pick a number just between 1 and 10. Let's say my spectator chooses 5. We'll say, okay, we're going to use the number 5 to count down and get a value. Here's what I mean. Watch this. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We removed 5 cards from the deck because that's what you chose. And that will end up on a 7. Now, if you had gone 1 earlier, you would have had a 9. 1 later, you would have had a 3. But you chose 7. So that's your value. And now with that number, 7, let's find a card. We'll count down 7, your number, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7th card from the bottom was a Queen of Hearts. Just so happens to be my prediction from a while ago, a Queen of Hearts. Okay, so let me show you that trick. They have a free choice of any number, but they really don't have a free choice, as you may have guessed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is actually called the 7 Force. I didn't want to put that in the title because it kind of gives it away, but that's what this trick is, and it has a few different outs, a couple of different outs. Here's the setup. You take a prediction card, in my case, a Queen of Hearts. I put that a matching Queen of Hearts, 7 cards from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that stays there. But the top part is the interesting part. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to stack this a little bit. We have an indifferent card in position number 1. And then we have a 7. And then we have an indifferent card. And then we have a 7, a 9, or whatever, any card. And then a 7, any card, and then a 7. And then you'll notice that, let's see, I also have a 5th 7 in here, just in case you don't have to do this, but I kind of like having a 5th one. So I have the 7 of clubs, 7 of hearts, 7 of spades, 7 of diamonds. I also have an additional 7 of clubs. You don't have to do that, but it's an extra safety. And every other card, in other words, is a 7. In fact, every even numbered card from the top is a 7. That's important to know. But here's how you perform the trick. First of all, you should need to know there's a little bit of psychology in asking somebody to pick a number between 1 and 10. Because, believe it or not, a huge number of the population, if you do it quickly, say just think of a number between 1 and 10, first thing that comes to your mind, most people will pick a 7. It just works out that way. I think because it's an odd number, it's not right in the middle, they don't want to pick 1 or 10, right? So it narrows it down, and so they just want to pick something that sounds random. And for some reason, psychologically, we usually land on a 7. Maybe it's because it's a lucky number. Whatever it is, people often pick 7. And if they do, then you're in luck. Because what you can do is you can do the trick that way. Say, I just want you to think a number between 1 and 10. If they say 7, you don't need to force a 7 on them. They've already done it themselves. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn the deck over. We're going to count to the 7th card and see what it is. You chose 7. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Look at that. Queen of Hearts, and of course my card's Queen of Hearts. So you got a pretty good chance of it happening that way. But obviously not everybody's going to pick a 7. It's not 100%. And that's okay, because this is called the 7 Force. What you need to know is that every even card between 1 and 10 is a 7, right? And so if they pick a 2, 4, 6, or 8, or even a 10 in my case, because I have that extra 7, but most people won't pick the 10. But if they pick a 2, 4, 6, or 8, you're just going to go to that card. So let's say they pick a 2. We're going to go 1, 2. Okay, so you picked a 7. You could have picked a 10, or you could have picked the next card, which would have been a jack, but you picked a 7. And then we continue on with the trick where we turn the cards over, count down 7 cards, matches the prediction. That's if they pick an even one, right? So that works for 2, 1, 2. That works for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You picked a 7. And if you square these up a little bit so they don't see the other one, you could have had a jack, you could have had a 9, but you picked a 7. If they pick the 6, we square these up, and you picked a 6. So the number was 6. So you picked a 7. You could have had a 9. You could have had a 3, but you picked a 7. So that works for 2, 4, 6, and 8. And then in my case, I've got the 10th card as a 7 as well. What if they pick an odd number? Doesn't matter. That's how many cards you're going to remove from the pack. So they pick a 3, you're going to go, we're going to remove 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. And the card you chose was a 7. One before it was a jack. The one after it would have been a 9. But you picked 7. And we continue on with the trick. Same thing with 5, obviously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We remove 5 cards, and you chose a 7. Could have had a 9. Could have had a 3. But you got a 7. Okay. So you get the idea. It's actually an old principle that I just wanted to teach you. Again, it's called the 7 force, or at least that's what I call it. Every other card, a 7. And like I said, I like to use 5 of them. And then you can do what you want. Now, I just did this thing with the queen being the 7th card as the prediction, and then matching my being the chosen card, matching my prediction. Obviously, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that at all. You can just use this to force a 7 and do whatever trick you want. You could have another deck of cards where the 7th card down is the prediction card, or just however you want to, whatever you want to do with that force. It's a great way to look like you're freely selecting a number. This principle came from Theodore or Ted Annemann, a very well-known, one of the greatest mentalists of all time. A lot of my tricks and a lot of the methods that I use come from his old books, his old classic books. The Ted Annemann series of mental card magic and card tricks by Ted Annemann. This is one of his, the 7 force. And it's just a great method of forcing and a great thing to know. Now, obviously, you don't have to use 7s. If you want to force a different number, just do it with 6s or 5s or 10s or whatever you want to do. Make every other card the number you want to force, and have at it. It's a great way to force a number using a deck of cards. Probably a million tricks you can do with that method. I hope you put it to work.